Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new GentechPC product showcase. Today we're going to be doing a full-length featured review on the brand new Gigabyte Aero. This is a smaller laptop that comes in a 14-inch form factor with a 3K resolution screen, so it's a nice high-density, high-quality non-glare IPS screen. Now the hardware inside is a high-end dedicated Skylake i7 as well as dedicated graphics from Nvidia with a GTX 1060. So you could do any kind of work with it, whether it be productivity and business work, simple consumption like Facebook and internet stuff, or of course it'll handle some nice gaming as well. Alright, so as we move right along with our review process, we're just finishing up the unboxing. As you can see, the laptop came out on top. We're just pulling out our warranty information and driver's disc. And of course we still got our power adapter here. Now if you are interested in colors, you do have choices in different colors as well. If you go to the product page link in the description of the video, you can take a look at the different colors available. And a quick close-up of our power adapter so you can see how much power we get out of here. One little side item on the power adapter, you do have a USB port on here. That would let you charge any USB device without actually having to plug it into the laptop. Now one more interesting item we have here, this is a USB 3 Ethernet adapter. So this gives you your wired network connectivity to a USB port. This is because, as you'll see a little bit further up in the review, the form factor of the laptop is so thin that it doesn't have room for traditional RJ45 connection. So rather than making the laptop bigger, they just make you use a USB port instead. But it has the wireless AC that they assume most people will be using since this is an ultra portable laptop. And to round out and finish up the unboxing, we have the other half of the power adapter. This is the side that will be different depending on your region to match your region's power supplies. Alright, it's time to weigh in the contender now. We've got the laptop on the scale at 4 pounds and 2 ounces. Of course, the weight's going to be very important since we're going for an ultra portable laptop. Now once you throw in your power adapter as well, that brings your total carry weight to 5 pounds and 7 ounces. And the next stop is going to be the system BIOS. This is before you boot into your operating system. You can take a look at some of the features as we just tab through here. This is a very basic BIOS, so don't expect anything crazy, but we just want to show you what's in here anyways in case you were wondering before you purchased the unit. Now while the BIOS tour might be kind of uneventful, if you know your hardware you might catch two hints here. One is that we have NVMe, which is non-volatile memory express, which means we have an open slot for a very fast SSD. The other is that we have two system RAM slots and we're only using one of them, so we do have some rooms for upgrades on this system. Alright, so with the BIOS out of the way, we're going to go ahead and let the system fully boot from a cold start and see how long it takes to get fully loaded into our operating system. And with a rough estimate, we're running the countdown to 18.5 seconds. Not too bad. We are, of course, booting off of a 512 gigabyte SSD. Alright, let's go take a close look at the size now. We've already got it weighed in on the scale, so the other half of that ultra portable form factor has to be that it's slim. So as you can see with the coins up here for scale, it's not even as thick as a quarter on the front or back side. So it does achieve a really thin profile, and that's with the lid in the closed position. So let's continue along with our tour, and this time we've got the system powered on and we'll start taking a first-hand look at everything. As you can see for your main interface here, the oversized touchpad does have the integrated left and right clicks, not the separate buttons. A standard low profile chiclet style keyboard that is not backlit, so no backlighting on this unit. Now over to the left you have the macro keys that say G on them. That's kind of a tip to the cap that says gaming for gaming macro keys, but you can use those for anything including productivity work. Now one of the stars of the show is that 3K IPS panel. It's a very high quality screen, very pixel dense, and it's looking great from every side because the IPS panel has great viewing angles and it's non-glossy, so it won't show all the light in the room. Now it's time to talk about connectivity. Our left hand side has nothing but an HDMI port, a USB 3 port, a headphone jack which is 3.5 millimeters, and an SD card slot. To the rear of the laptop we have absolutely nothing. Just the Gigabyte logo and some of the hinging. Of course you can get it in different colors if you don't like the orange. Now to the right side we have our power port for charging, two USB 3.0 ports, a mini display port, and the USB 3.1 Type-C. So once again, as I said in the beginning of the unboxing, there is no built-in RJ45 networking. If you want to use the local networking that's wired, instead of using the built-in wireless, you'll have to use that included USB adapter. Now the good news is you get a thinner, lighter laptop, and that USB 3.0 adapter is just as fast as if it would have been built right into the motherboard. And before we go too much further in our review, we wanted to bring in a guest star. This is the Gigabyte Aero in black. Same hinging artwork, just a little bit of orange showing on the edge there. And of course the rest of it is a much more, not quite as flashy, standard black laptop. Alright, so here we are in our device manager. This is going to give you a great look at all of the internal hardware. As you can see, the Intel i7 6700HQ, that's a very respectable Skylake CPU. We do have our ambient light sensor. We have Intel for audio, Nvidia as well. Here is the monitor panel. And of course our GPU is the Nvidia GTX 1060. The display is 2560 by 1440, which is also known as 3K, with a 60 Hz refresh rate. Alright, so some of the software here. This is the Gigabyte Smart Manager. Just a quick graphic interface to let you change up some of the settings that are normally buried a little bit deeper inside of Windows. And here is the macro key software. Now there is actual LED backlighting behind the macro keys, but it's not really to the same effect as we normally see where you're doing it to make it look pretty for whatever colors you like. In this case it's more of a notification for which mode you're in, since you can set multiple functions to a single key. As we move into our benchmarking section, here is the first one for you, the Crystal Disk Mark score for our solid state disk. And the next one is going to be grabbing our ambient noise levels before we put the system under load. So we have the sound meter, and we're just looking to see how loud the system is. Now of course these are worst case scenario figures. We're using a sound meter right next to the exhaust on the laptop. The best way to make any sense of these numbers is to watch more than one review and just compare this system to other systems and determine if it's louder or quieter. And we'll take these figures again once we put the system under load so we can see if it gets much louder than this. And for our new and improved thermal imaging, this is our heat benchmark. Smaller laptops have a reputation for overheating and not handling heat as well as their bigger brothers. There's just less space to work with to put a complex cooling system, and so they can get overheated easy. So far what we're seeing here is that this system's doing great, but of course we haven't really put it under load yet. The biggest thing you're looking for right now on this particular benchmark is to make sure that where you touch the laptop, it's not hot to the touch, making it uncomfortable to use. And before we kick off our benchmark, the next thing is to take a quick look at our baseline temperatures. Now our CPU is in the 50s, some of the cores are hotter or cooler, and therefore averages to about mid 50s. And also on the video card, right now baseline is about mid 40s. So we want to see how much hotter it gets after the system is put through its paces on some gaming benchmarks, and come back and compare to these baseline figures. Okay, so right now while the benchmark is running 3D Mark 11, this is the best time to come and see how much hotter and how much louder the system has gotten now that the system components are being put to their maximum limits. As you can see, we definitely do have more noise coming out of the sound meter now. However, despite that high load and the higher figures, this is relatively quiet in person, and again, this is the worst case scenario. Temperature wise, we can see our hot spots here, where the exhaust is really having to pick up the CPU and GPU areas. But the hands-on areas are remaining really nice and cool. So how'd the little guy do? Actually really good. Performance score of 11,629 on 3D Mark 11. A really respectable score. How'd it handle that? Well, the CPU went up to 70, low 80s, which is actually really good for a CPU temperature, so the CPU stayed great. Now down below, the GPU went up to 68 degrees. That's also really great. So that's good news to see that the hardware inside of this small laptop stays nice and cool. Alright, so the next benchmark score is Firestrike. It came in at 9,493. So also a really great score, especially considering how small and light this package is. Temperatures remained about the same. We have between 70 and 80 degrees Celsius on the CPU. Now for the graphics card, it's still only at 68 degrees Celsius, so it really manages to keep that graphics card nice and cool. Now for a quick run of the sound system. Alright, so this does bring us into the last part of our review, which is of course the laptop X-ray. Just kidding, we're actually going to take it apart for you. So let's start with the bottom of the laptop. First thing you're going to have to do is remove all the screws from the outside portion and the center. Now be smart about this and take a special note to what screw came from where, because they are of different lengths, and putting one of the long screws into one of the short screw places and trying to screw it all the way back in could easily crack and break something, and of course you'll break your laptop and void your warranty. So we recommend you wait till the warranty is over before you go and try to do any self upgrades, but if you decide to do so, please do so at your own risk. Now once we get inside, it's pretty easy to find everything. It's an easy, small, compact chassis with easy access to all the user upgradable components. We have our large internal battery right here in the front. Just above it we have that M2 slot that has the PCI Express interface for an SSD. In the center we have our system RAM slots, which one is taken and one's empty. That's a 16 gigabyte SODIMM. To the right hand side, an M2 slot that has our current SSD running the operating system. So we can easily find and identify all those parts and upgrade our RAM and add that NVMe SSD. And so everybody, that concludes our full-length feature review of the Gigabyte Aero. So if you're interested in this system and you want more information, or you've got some questions that the video didn't answer, we definitely have you covered. Down in the description of the video is going to be the product page link, and that of course will take you to our page where we have all the current pricing and availability and the full product specs. As far as questions, any general questions, feel free to ask those down below in the comment section. If you have some personal questions you need one-on-one help with, then feel free to give us a call or email us, and we'll be sure to help you out with those personal questions as well. So we just want to remind you once again, this was GentechPC, and we'll see you next time.